In a pasture system, the grasses are going to generally be the dominant plants within that system, and it's good to get a diversity within those grasses so that you get the wider variety of nutritional benefits from that diversity to improve the health of your livestock, but also the properties of different plants to be able to produce better in different environmental conditions that farm experiences. So there's certain plants, for example, that grow quite well in more compact, wetter, poorer draining soils. So things like the cocksfoot, for example, can grow quite well in them, that are a perennial plant but are more active during summer. And if those soils are also acidic, the Yorkshire fog grass is a good choice too. If it's a warmer, wetter kind of environment, the fescue grass grows quite well, and if it gets a bit drier, the kikuyu as well up north of Auckland. The broom grass is another perennial one that is good and productive during winter, and it grows quite well in fertile, free draining soils. And the most popular one is ryegrass, because it grows really well when there's a application of an artificial nitrogen-based fertilizer, leads to good growth of a ryegrass. So it's been the most common grass used in New Zealand, and sometimes it's the only grass used within a pasture system, because its growth can be maintained quite well with a high input of nitrogen fertilizers. But in an organic system where you are moving away from use of a nitrogen fertilizer and establishing a low nitrogen source of fertility within that system, based on building up the humus level within the soil, or the organic matter within the soil, you're looking at establishing a more diverse range of plants within that kind of system and moving away from a ryegrass dominated system. So that's established by a variety of things. So it's the grazing of that system. So it's doing the cell grazing, so that you've got a high turnover of long grasses and the organic matter in it, to manures which help build up the soil organic matter and the nutrient levels and the soil biology. And over time, that's going to lead to an increase in fertility in that soil, particularly when it's mixed up with application of organic, natural-based fertilizers. So that will allow highly grazed, degraded pasture system that's had a high input of nitrogen fertilizers to prop up the growth of ryegrass. It will allow that degraded pasture system to, over time, establish as a more rich, diverse, organic-based pasture system by the application over a few years of rotational grazing, allowing grasses to grow to a good length before they're being grazed, the application of organic, natural-based fertilizers with a diverse range of micronutrients in them, and over-sowing those pastures with a diversity of beneficial pasture grasses, and over time allowing the community of grasses to change in response to changing soil conditions. So as they improve over time, they provide the conditions to allow a more diverse range of pasture grasses to establish themselves. There's also been some quite interesting work with ryegrass been going on, so producing cultivars which don't have the endophyte fungus. So that's a poison that particularly establishes in late summer and autumn when it gets wetter, and that fungus starts invading the seed coats of those grasses. And when the stock consume that fungus when they're eating the ryegrass, it leads to ryegrass staggers, particularly in some animals like sheep and alpacas, which are less resistant to that fungus. So there's been low endophyte ryegrasses produced to try to work around those problems, as well as ryegrasses that are more adaptable to drought conditions on the east coast, and provide a wider range of nutritional benefits as well, which is the tetraploid ryegrass, where they've got twice as number of chromosomes. So there's more expression or genetic material in that, and some of those genes are associated with a greater diversity of nutrients within those grasses. So it pays to establish this more diverse grass system within a pasture system by over time applying good grazing practices and a good naturally sourced diverse nutrient based organic fertiliser.